You know how sometimes you wake up from a nap and you're not entirely sure what dimension you just came from? Yeah, that was me this afternoon. I had this series of dreams that were so wild, so vivid, I just have to tell you about them. It was like my brain decided to direct its own multi-genre blockbuster movie marathon. It started with this bizarre war. On one side, you had these beings called goddesses, and on the other, a group called incels. It was a straight-up action movie stuff. To defeat an incel, you had to, well, take them out. But to defeat a goddess, you had to kiss them. But here's the twist. A single kiss could transform them into something unrecognizable, something their own kind would turn against. So there I am, apparently an incel in this dream world, leaping from tree to tree like some kind of ninja, being chased by these powerful goddesses. I'm dodging and weaving, my heart pounding, and then one of them catches me. I feel this sharp pain, and my vision starts to go dark. I know it's the end, but with my last ounce of strength, I managed to lean in and kiss the very tip of her lips. It was this strange, surreal moment. Instantly, she transforms, first into a dark, brown-skinned woman, then into someone with a weathered, aged face. Another goddess appears, sees her, and that's the last I see of them before everything fades. I woke up with that weird, disoriented feeling, like you think you wet the bed, but you know you didn't. It was just the echo of the dream, super intense. But I wasn't awake for long. I drifted off again, and boom, I'm back in another action sequence. I'm jumping through trees again, but this time it's a whole different vibe. I'm part of a team. To my right, there's this older guy, maybe in his late 60s, rocking a red Hawaiian shirt and blue pants. He's got a classic sword and some kind of futuristic, blue-gelled muzzle pistol. Total chill but deadly grandpa energy. On my left, a young woman, very pale, short black hair, wearing a simple camisole and shorts. Her weapon was the coolest, though, a sword that could summon this giant, brown, ceramic-scaled reptile. And me? I was decked out in a weird mix of medieval shirt and army pants, pistol mags on my belt. I had a sword with a colorful gem in the hilt. The strange thing about this sword was that it would bend super easily, even cutting through meat. But the upside? It could repair itself almost instantly. For those moments when it was bent out of shape, I had a trusty M1911 pistol. The three of us were zipping through this dark, dense jungle using maneuvering gear, just like an Attack on Titan. It was exhilarating. Wherever I looked, that's where I'd go, flying through the canopy. The jungle was as dark as night, even though you could see faint stars shimmering in the sky. It was slimy and wet and just plain gross. We were firing and slashing at these small, hidden creatures that would lunge at us from the vegetation. My sword would bend, so I'd switch to my pistol, firing off rounds whenever something got too close. The air was thick with the stench of decay, like a swamp full of dead fish. We knew something bigger was lurking nearby. And then it happened. I slipped on a branch and landed hard in the muck. As I struggled to get up, I saw it. A towering female-like monster. It had a head, but no face, just a void of darkness where its features should have been. The young lady with me didn't hesitate. She raised her sword, and her giant reptile beast materialized, ready for battle. Gramps readied his weapons, waiting for the real fight to start. We were all struggling to find solid ground in this disgusting swamp, firing and slashing at the monster and its smaller minions. The battle was a blur of chaos and desperation. Then, just as abruptly as it began, the scene shifted. Suddenly, we weren't in a swamp anymore. We were back on a cliffside road, overlooking a beach. There were cars, other tourists, food stalls. It was completely normal. We walked up to the highest point of the cliff, and I could see radio towers in the distance. And just like that, the dream ended. But wait, there's more. The dreamception continued. Next, I'm in my grandmother's house. It's a peaceful, domestic scene. We have two new puppies, just a couple of months old, tumbling around. We're watching TV, and I notice something's different. In this reality, the pandemic never happened. It was a strange, comforting thought. My mom is asleep on the couch, but the peace is shattered when one of the puppies runs outside and gets snatched by a larger dog. It was horrifying. I run outside, and that's when I hear it. The thumping sound of helicopters. I look up and see them hovering overhead. I pull out my phone and start recording in night vision. A spotlight sweeps across the area and catches me. I duck behind a wall just in time. They didn't fire. But then I heard this thunderous exchange of gunfire between the helicopters. I peek around the other side of the house and see bright green fireworks exploding against the dark sky. What was even happening? Okay, last dream, and this one was the creepiest. I'm entering what looks like an abandoned apartment. Maybe it's under renovation. I just need to go in a few steps to grab something I left behind. My little red notebook and my beanie. As I step inside, my throat feels incredibly dry, and it's hard to breathe. It's that feeling you get when you're half awake and aware of your own snoring or sleep apnea, but you can't quite wake yourself up to fix it. As I grab my things and stuff them in my bag, I get that classic hair-raising feeling that I'm being watched. I turn to leave, but the apartment starts to change. It's like I'm suddenly in the middle of a circus tent. The door is still there, but the distance to it has doubled, tripled, without the room actually stretching. It's a total mind bend. I start to freak out and run. Out of the corner of my eye, I see these little black orbs. Or maybe they were butterflies, flickering and blinking in and out of existence. As I'm sprinting, the door starts to get thinner and thinner, shrinking right before my eyes. I barely manage to squeeze through sideways just as it closes behind me with a normal click. I stumble outside and look back at the window of the apartment. The lights are on now, and I swear, the kitchen cabinets above the sink looked like they were staring down at me. Then the dream shifts into a paranormal reality show. The host, an investigator, is in that same apartment. He's trying to cleanse the second floor. As he waves around some incense, a black butterfly appears, and he just smacks it out of the air. Then one of his crew members says something touched him. A moment later, a woman on the team, maybe in her 50s, with a gothic style, says something whispered a threat in her ear. She gets really upset, saying it told her that her husband was going to harm her, because she's a lesbian. The dream then flashes back to her backstory, confirming that this was a real fear she had years ago. It was so specific and so unsettling. I finally woke up for real around midnight. My head was pounding, my mouth was completely dry, and my head felt freezing cold. The room was pitch black except for the dim red light of an extension cord. I was just lying there, trying to piece together the absolute cinematic chaos my brain had just put me through. What do you guys think? Have you ever had dreams this intense and layered? It feels like I lived 3 different lives in one nap. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had a dream that felt like a movie. Thanks so much for listening to my wild dream journey. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.